This is Marcus Hollinger, and this is the 116 Live Show on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM Channel 154. What's up, what's up? My name is Marcus, and I'm here with my boy.
Man, you gonna let me introduce myself,
all right, go ahead and
bro?
introduce yourself.
Whatever. Ace Harris in the building.
And this is the 116 Live on Holy Culture, SiriusXM Channel 154.
Tap in.
And today is very special because we have the one, the only, the incredible Tedashii in the building with us.
What's good? What's good? What's good?
How you living, Tedashii?
I'm well, bro. Today's a good day. I speak in days now. No longer
man, I love
do
that.
I be like, oh man, everything's great. It's like, no, today's a good day.
Today's a good one.
Today's a good day.
So
bro.
far.
So far.
No, it's going. I mean, I feel like you've been in a great space, man. And as you were introducing him, I was thinking, as someone who has a not so common name, I mean, I wonder how many times people have like interviewed you and not read how your name is pronounced and just like with a straight face.
Tedashii. And so if you're listening today and this is your first time tapping in with us on 116 Live, myself and Ace cover topics ranging from music, faith, and culture. And this interview is a special one, or today's guest is very special because he really sits at the center and has sat at the center of those things for a minute.
Nah, for sure. I feel like you can't talk about 116 Life and not talk about Tedashii. You know what I'm saying? So it's just part of the story. And I mean, would you say like one of the founding members of what the 116 movement?
I told y'all that's weird to hear. I think that's weird.
How does that land on you? Why? What? Say more.
As someone who is in it, you never take. It's rare to look up and take stock of what's going on, whether in the past or currently.
Yeah,
there is a moment I think that we've taken to celebrate things or to acknowledge certain things. But to make it even more specific, like, nah, well, you though, brother, it's like, that's weird.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know.
Well, yeah, every time. So we had, for the first episode of the show, we had Ben Washer and Lecrae on.
Yeah.
And Lecrae mentioned you as a founding member, and so did Ben. And Lecrae told us that you all were college roommates.
Yes,
which was pretty. I'm like, man.
Did no one notice? No one knew?
I don't know. Maybe it was like... Did you know that?
I have heard that, but not like immediately when I got here. But when I heard it, I remember wanting to know, what was that like? Because y'all two together. Like,
First of all, that must have been a big dorm room.
Well, definitely a big. Well, I've seen Tedashii and Lecrae wrestle right here in the Reach Records studio lobby, and it was like a dinosaurs fighting.
That's hilarious.
And I say they were like. I was like,
I've seen it before too, and I was like, I'm gonna get to the furthest edge of this room, so it's like, you know, like the Looney Tunes when that smoke cloud dust up. I'm like, I don't want to somehow get pulled into that.
You would think. I mean, it was like they were. Well, Tedashii obviously I think would probably win the battle, but like two like grown like NFL-sized men fighting in the studio lobby.
Scary sight.
It was
so.
Fun, yeah.
So what was that? What was that like? What were those early days of y'all's friendship like?
So I don't know if Lecrae mentioned this or not, but like when we first met, like I didn't like him, but he didn't like me. Like I just knew like I'm not gonna get along with dude. Like that's how I thought it to myself. I met him in the midst of some group gathering, something that was happening that I came down for. And I was hanging with people that I knew already. So when Lecrae came in, I'm talking with him, hanging out with him. But we all base our opinion of people off the first impression, right?
Right.
So my first impression of him was off-putting. And I was like, I don't know. Honestly, just because he didn't seem to be like all the other people that I knew there. So anybody who stands out or looks different, you automatically kind of look suspect at. And that's what I did to him. But he did the exact same thing to me, and I had no clue.
Oh, word.
Until we were in a car one day riding together. And I mean, this was probably weeks after I met him. We end up in a car together riding. He's driving somewhere and I'm riding with him. And we just started talking. And he's a very blunt individual.
No, not at all.
He has the skill set to speak his mind in a way that is unlike no other, but he lacks the tact sometimes to do it with. And so that brother just was like, oh yeah, man, I ain't even like you when I first met. That's how he said it. I've always been one that had to wrestle with being defensive.
Okay.
Like I'm always the person that's like, I got to prove myself. So when he said that, I was like, I ain't like you either, bruh. Like I just turned and said it.
H-Town come right on out.
And I was like, what we doing? Like that's where my mind went. What we finna do?
Wait, so did anyone else have their hands on the steering wheel at this point?
Nah, Craig was driving. That was it.
Oh.
I was like, well, what you want to do, bro? That's
Okay,
how my attitude was. And he was like, he was like, nah, I'm just saying, man, but it's different. I see now you're not who I thought you were. And I was like, ooh, calm down. Yeah, you're right. I don't think you who I thought you were. And there was this mutual agreement of respect, so to speak, that grew into more of a desire to then hang out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it kind of started out. But then at some point, and this is, Lecrae is a catalyzer. He's someone that's going to galvanize a group of people towards something. That's always been his DNA. So one day he just called and was like, man, I really want to have stronger community, some accountability. What are y'all doing? Let's all get together. And he called myself and like 4 of the guys. Now, I'm already doing stuff with other people, but he recognized for himself what he was lacking and reached out to me and some other guys. And so I thought, well, man, this must be serious if he's reaching out for real.
Yeah.
So let's go get with him. So we go get with him. And there was, especially back in those days when you're young and zealous, you assume if somebody say they're struggling, they done kill some people or something. Like they are, you got somebody pregnant, what you doing?
Yeah.
So, you think the worst. But then he's just like, nah, I just realized before anything goes awry, I gotta get some community.
Yeah.
And so we all started getting together more. And that's when I think we really kind of forged a for real bond and relationship outside of being, college friends.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was the first move, if I'm listening to this conversation?
Yeah.
I'm probably wondering, well, when did this hit wax? Like what was the first what was the first moment where this became a musical relationship?
So I was a part of this. We were all a part of this Bible study we would go to. And then at the end of it, myself, Cray, Sho Baraka, like 2 other dudes, like we would all stand around and freestyle, just off the top of the head, just start spitting rhymes, and we would pass it off, and we would have fun just doing it.
Right.
I decided to jump in because I was like, I started trying to freestyle when I was like a junior in high school because I realized the attention it would give you.
Okay.
Dudes would respect you. Maybe girls like you. I don't know. Yeah. It's just like this is going to garner some attention. So when I really started trying to put rhymes to paper, it was probably about a year or 2 before me and Craig got super close. So when we were out there freestyling, it was cool to do this. I was like, oh, this is fun.
Right.
It isn't, I'm not doing this to impress nobody, although it's fun to have bars that impress people. It's more like I'm just rhyming with my homies. This is fun to pass around the rhyme in the cypher. And so from that experience, Cray was like, yo, man, I'm getting ready to work on this project with this dude, Ben. I think you should meet him. I would love for you to be on the project. And I was like, okay, sure, I guess. I don't know. And so he does Real Talk, his first album. Yeah. And he asked me to be on a song. Then he asked me to be on another song. Then he asked me to be on another song.
And you just
Then he asked me to do an interlude. Then he asked me to do the intro. And it was just like, yo, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I think from that engagement, Cray thought, oh, he down to rap. He want to do that. But I didn't want to rap. And I think that's a misconception people have. Is yo, when you got into this, like, had you always been rapping? A lot of people in interviews will be like, were you rapping secular first? And I'm just like, nah, I was going to school to be a journalist and a coach.
Did you, before you had rapped on Lecrae's songs, had you like recorded to a beat, had any studio, like what, or you were just like writing rhymes in your book for fun?
I'm going to be honest with y'all.
Okay.
We family, 116 life and all.
Okay, let's talk.
So I did rap before on Wax. I went to a church The guys that were there were like, yo, you can freestyle. Would you ever want to do a jam session? And I learned that's what white people say they want to do when they want to hang out but play music. Never been a part of a jam session.
Okay.
Black people don't do jams. I've never been with a. Yes, there are black people who do them.
It's a cultural exchange right here.
But I'm just saying, I never knew black people to say that. They just be like, yo, you want to get together and play some music?
Yeah.
Jam session was different, so I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But when I got there, my dude was playing guitar. He was hitting some licks. Dude on bass. And they was like, go ahead and rap. And I was like,
Oh,
Did they say go ahead and rap, or did they say quote do a rap?
no. They said, go ahead and rap.
Okay.
Oh,
like,
man.
as if I knew coming in, that's what I should be doing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm listening to the sound.
you got a basketball too? No, I'm just playing.
Dang.
I had to do it. I had to do it.
We got a hoop in the back.
Throw that in. No, it's all good.
Don't kill
man.
us, y'all. We just teasing.
No, they didn't have no basketball or nothing. When they got done, though, they did have fried chicken and watermelon, and they had a ton. Too far?
I got a lot of questions.
Oh
right.
God, no!
I got a lot of
Totally playing. Totally
So
playing.
you
no, but so they like go ahead. They like go ahead and rap, and I was like, oh, okay. And meanwhile, I'm like, this soundscape don't fit what rap. I don't know what you want me to do. So I started rapping. And then they said, man, you sound like some dude. I forget his name now. But they played Limp Bizkit. And was like, yo, this is what this sounds like. So I was like, cool. Fast forward, we got called to come do some youth thing at the church. And from there, other people were like, yo, you want to do it again? Pretty soon, we started trying to make music together.
Oh.
So Cray knows, Trip Lee knows because of early on beginnings with one another. Like for about a year, I was dabbling in this rock rap world.
Word.
Because in Christian circles, rock music was the biggest thing
Yeah,
at
it's
the
a
time.
joint.
And it was like, well, you rap though, you don't do rock music, but rap rock is happening.
Yeah,
You should try it.
Yeah.
So I did dabble
That's
in that.
crazy. I didn't know that.
We went into the studio. A dude paid for us to do a demo. We literally went into the studio like the 1920s. Press record, and you go straight through everything because we ain't got budget for you to mess up. So whatever you get is what you get.
Yeah.
Ain't no stacks. Ain't no coming back.
Ain't no run that back.
Ain't no punch-ins. It's literally know your lyrics before you step in here and do it.
Sheesh.
So we did it, and I can honestly say that it was some of the funnest moments with friends in my life.
Wow.
And probably some of the worst music I've ever made.
Okay.
Oh man.
The worst music part, Tedashii, T. Dot. Is there any way I can get a sample of that music?
I don't have it no more.
Is there any way we can find it?
It was just on CD. I don't even know where it is.
Yo, whoever's out there, 116 Live Podcast, Sirius Channel, Holy
Billy-
Culture,
Billy Ray,
please.
Mike,
Yeah.
Jim.
And see, that time in my life was
Yo.
before meeting Lecrae and everybody
Oh,
else.
okay.
So it wasn't, I literally moved from where I was living to go up to Dallas to finish school.
Okay.
So that whole part, Lecrae only knew about it because we went back to my hometown one day and they was like, yo, man, you rapping for real, huh? It ain't like that other time. And he was like, what other time? And so I showed him and he was like, yo, this is wild.
So
Then he was like, thank God you got way back.
oh man. And
That is a wild story, dog.
I think that's phenomenal. It's interesting to hear that you never really wanted to rap, and then also kind of the backstory on Lecrae's Real Talk. Like that's it was just one thing kind of led to another.
Yeah.
Now you are all over this project.
Yeah, bro.
That's a great place for us to. I want to pick back up on that, but let's take a break. And if you're listening again, my name is Marcus.
Ace Harris.
This is the 116 Life, and we're on Holy Culture Radio. Right after this break, we're going to get back into it. But first, some of this uplifting kingdom music we got for you. So welcome back. If you're just joining us, my name is Marcus, and I'm here with my homeboy.
Ace Harris.
And this is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM Channel 154. If you're just tapping in, we're in studio with the one, the only Ted T.
The incomparable.
The incomparable.
TED Talk.
We having TED Talk this
having TED
morning.
Talk.
We all having TED Talk.
Oh.
I love it. That was great.
Oh,
Let's
that's
go.
crazy. And
go.
earlier we talked about Tedashii. You kind of like just put it out there that rap was something you never really wanted to do, and that's pretty crazy to hear because your career represents the kind of longevity I think that any creative aspires to. I mean, you've been doing this thing for 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm curious because at some point you don't just wind up. Okay, so it's one thing to sort of stumble into something, but it's a completely different thing to do it for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just makes me curious. At what point for you did it become real?
Yeah, that's a great question, bro. I would say this became real for me as far as a career or a thing that I was going to do for a living. I think it got real for me right around Blacklight. I tell everybody, Kingdom People introduced me to people, but Identity Crisis gave me a career. After Identity Crisis, people were like, oh, you do this. This is what you do.
Right.
I still didn't believe it or buy into it. I just know I'm a creative.
So, okay. So because I want to get to Blacklight, but I'm very curious about that. So you did Kingdom People.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there was some external validation.
Yeah.
But there was an internal, I don't know yet.
Yeah. Totally.
What was that like?
So I remember doing music early on, like we did Real Talk, we did the 116 compilation, and all of those moments were me playing a role. Like I remember I did 3 or 4 songs, and I remember Ben was like, I like these, but we have stuff that sounds like that. Can you do this? So I went back and rewrote some stuff, and that's when I did, there's a song on there called Impressed that I did that kind of people gravitated to the most. Another one called Kingdom People. The beat was super weird, but other than that, it was still okay.
I didn't find out about Kingdom People until, man, so many years later. And I love that song.
Thank you, bro.
Like
Thank
just
you,
the heart of that song and how descriptive you were to really shout out all the different people that it takes to make a community of believers, man. Something about Christian hip hop, man, like you know, it's no secret. We all listen to other things, but it's something about Christian hip hop, man, that really does reinforce the life that we're trying to live in.
For
Jesus.
sure.
And I feel like that record, man, was one of those. It's one of those records, you know.
Yeah. No, I definitely have been in my career writing songs that people could identify with for certain parts of their journey.
Yeah.
Every aspect of my music that I've ever done has been tied to where I was in life at the time, because I believe at some point individuals would be in that same or a similar place.
Similar place, yeah.
And so I do Kingdom People. I do those songs for the compilation, and I realized this was fun. I enjoyed it. But like living down by Houston, doing music with my friends playing rock music, it was like, this is just fun. It's a fun pastime. My goal, everybody in my family are educators. My mom was a teacher for 40 years before she retired. I'm like, man, I'm going to go be a coach. I love football. I love track. I love this and that. I'm a coach. I teach. But my true passion and dream was to be a journalist. Like I wanted to be like Tavis Smiley. I wanted to be like, I don't even know if people know who Ted Koppel is. I wanted to be like whoever. Brashear, I forget his first name, who does Nightline now.
What was it? What was it about what was it about journalism? That's interesting. I didn't know that. What drew you? What do you feel like drew you to that?
As a kid, I was impressed. No lie, the first thing that impressed me was I didn't know this. I learned they got paid. I was like, wait, those people get paid to talk? That's what they get paid
Where
to
the
do?
dollars
Interesting.
That's all they do, and they get paid for that?
Yeah.
Now, later I learned there was what the work was behind it.
Okay.
But even still, it interests me. So one of the things that I brought into my rap career was the idea of getting the scoop. Like the reason I did Identity Crisis was because I never heard anyone in music, anywhere, I don't care if they were Christian, non-Christian, I never heard anyone speak about the Imago Dei and focus on the idea that we are made in God's image and what implications come from that.
Yeah.
I never heard that. And I was like, ooh, I got the scoop. Time to go for it.
Yes, sir.
And so for the rest of my life, like
Trailblazer, bro.
Even with Kingdom People, I was like, I got the scoop. Like no one is talking about living as a college student trying to survive. But most college students know, as a Christian, when you are in certain circles trying to like live and be social, you only got so many outlets before you get deemed sinful or, living below reproach. And so I was like, what do we get to do? I'm sick of playing Boulder Dash. I'm sick of playing Taboo.
Yeah.
I'm sick of
Hacky Sack.
playing Mafia and Hacky
You name it
Sack.
all.
and-
No,
like the
not
Christian
Mafia.
go-tos.
Oh,
Mafia,
boy. Bruh.
I brought it back, right?
Basement is starting to smell like breath.
Yes, come on, bro. That's
Gotta
what I'm
get
saying.
up out of
Gotta
here.
leave now.
Yeah.
There's no more. I'm sick of playing. It was basically thumbs up 7-Up with a riddle in it.
In
That's
the
all I
dark.
thought it was. Mafia
Oh,
Are
was
these like
thumbs up
are these like
7-Up
the
with a
safe
riddle.
haven? Sorry, my college experience was not with
Nah,
Christ.
Oh, you
set it
never
up.
played Mafia?
I didn't. I was doing
Man,
beer
we
pong.
might have to play. We might have to. Y'all was playing what?
I was doing beer pong.
He was doing beer pong. He was like, shot,
maybe
shot,
or may not
shot,
at a place
shot.
that sounds
With
like Maverick
water?
City.
Wait. I'm like, hold on.
we was
Bruh, if
we was
you-
another
if-
we was another track.
If
It
you
was-
never, but this is like, but these are like in Christian things. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm
bro.
saying like I wasn't walking my college career. I was not walking with the Lord.
oh,
and I was in
so
Atlanta.
that's why you never played Mafia.
Yeah, I was in Atlanta. Again, I was at places that I was at, spaces where you shouldn't be. Basically,
When
Oh.
the city was magic.
it was a magical time.
Oh,
You know what I'm
okay.
saying?
I got you. I see what's going on.
God
here.
forgives. Shout out
God
to
All
Grace.
right, all right. You were
Repentance
with
is
the
real.
Mafia.
You was with the Mafia.
my
You wasn't playing it. You, was
wasn't
really
playing
with
it.
them.
You
Hey
was-
man,
Yo,
Man,
bro.
God love-
wow!
God love
Shout,
us all.
shout out to whoever made up Mafia.
I mean,
I
they
gotta
gave
play
us
this
a
game now. I
pastime.
feel like
They gave us a pastime, bro. Listen, I learned real quick jailhouse games was going to pass the time. That's all they are.
Oh my
They
goodness!
jailhouse
No,
games. They just there to pass the time.
what? Oh my God! You're right.
Card games.
just called them
board
jailhouse-
games.
It's just-
Mafia.
And so
Keep
but
me out of
this is-
trouble.
And so this is what Identity Crisis was about. It's like, yo, I'm in this thing and I'm trying
Kingdom
to figure
People
out.
and Identity Crisis.
Oh, okay.
Kingdom People was definitely like, yo, like one of the lines in, I did a song called We Not Gonna Take It No More, long freaking title. But like ultimately the line in the song that people gravitated to was like, I'm in college trying to walk this out, but it's harder now. Like when I was just living on my own with my homies, it was easy. But now I'm in this random place where not everybody cares about your faith. No, not everybody agrees with it. And so people are going to live and interact how they see fit. And as a person who is just now beginning to engage the world on my own, to have that responsibility, but also the pressures,
Yeah.
not just biblical, but social pressures that come with social Christianity for you to have to exist in a certain
Social
way.
Christianity.
It's like, yo,
Social
man, I'm
Christianity.
struggling. I'm
That's crazy.
struggling.
And
The
did you-
society is real.
Did you have any expectations for what music could do for you? I mean, maybe not because it's still becoming real for you. But what
God,
did you,
no.
did you were just but see, it's,
Not at
it's
all.
just fun.
So I remember Lecrae came to me and he was like, "Yo, after we did the Kingdom People, Real Talk and the compilation, he was like, "Yo, I think you should rap. I think that's something you really should do." And I was like, "Nope, thank you though, I appreciate it," and I moved on. Then it was like, "No, for real, I think you should." Like literally weeks saying this to me.
Right.
Then Ben, yo, I don't want to seem self-serving, but honestly, man, you're really good at this. You should do it. Thanks, man. It means a lot. No, thank you. Because I really was like, I'm on a trajectory. I'm about to be a coach. I might end up going to seminary. I don't know what's going to happen. But rap, I don't want the instability of rap.
Okay.
And furthermore, I never saw rap as a career in a Christian space. I only saw it.
Oh yeah.
Like there was nobody really with a career
Oh,
in a Christian
man.
space. That wasn't a thing.
that's a like wide open
That was
perspective.
not a thing.
Like,
The only people really pursuing career was cross movement.
cross movement, yeah.
That's who I knew. Now, there were other, Tunnel Rats was out there, and you had
T-Bone.
you had DJs that were doing stuff. But in reality, in hip hop, if you was gonna have a career, I only saw it in one way.
Gotcha.
And I was
Yeah.
like, that don't make sense. I don't want to do that. I'd rather go over here and go get stability. Plus, if I'm honest, I was also living in a world where I was trying to impress the thought leaders of the day. I was an academic. Like that's what I saw myself. I mean, I played football in high school. I did track, all that. But I was an athletic nerd. Like I graduated with a 4.0 GPA. I got a 29 on my ACT, which is trash
you
now. 'cause
smart.
at the time it was great, but now it's trash. It's like, oh, they go up to 36 now. That's fun. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, yo, I got these academic accolades that I'm pursuing. I ain't got time for that. And they kept going in. So I ended up going to really my spiritual leader and spiritual father. And I was just like, yo, give me some insight. Should I rap? Tell me what I should do. Help me understand. Give me some wisdom. And them mugs was like, honestly, they said the same thing. And I was working part-time at the church too. So it was like, yo, man, we'll always be here. If you leave, you can always come back. That's not a going backwards. That's a changing direction.
Right.
It's not the same thing. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I should try it. So through their wisdom, talking with Ben and Lecrae more, I decided to do it. Signed a contract, started working on Kingdom People. When I did Kingdom People, I was in a studio, majority by myself, trying to just create my baby, whatever it was gonna be.
Right.
And when it came out, I was like, it's cool. It's fun, but it's cool. Houston, We Have a Problem, and Off the Hook were the songs that was like, gave it life. And it was like, this is fun, cool. The experience of recording it was way more fun than putting it out and rocking with the people, because I had never done it before.
Right.
So it was so dope. But Identity Crisis, I'd already done it before. This time it was for the people. And I was like, yo, I have to tell what's really going on in my life. Like, I think Ben would say probably his favorite song, one of his favorite songs from me, but his favorite song from that project is Work. Because I took a beat that T.I. would rap in the club over and put my insecurities about working with the people.
That when you
And I married the two, and Ben was like, how did you do that? What in the world? But even in concerts, that was one of the songs people wanted to hear. And I learned quickly, for me, it's always been true of me that I've been charismatic, or I've been relational or approachable and all these things.
Yeah.
But it started to come through the music.
Yeah.
The vulnerability led to the idea that people wanted to approach it. And I found myself meeting people at that space of vulnerability. So at that point, it was like, oh, this gave me a career. People are wanting this.
Right.
But it wasn't until Blacklight that I believed I was supposed to rap.
And what was it about Blacklight that made you believe?
It wasn't just the music, it was the moment. I started to see how people were, it was normative to talk about me as a rapper.
Okay.
And I was like, really?
You were still kind of in the bubble a little bit?
I was still in the mindset that I'm an athlete.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Granted, I ain't played organized ball in like 12 years, but it's like, yo, I'm still an athlete, right? And I'm an academic. Like, I'm supposed to be going to get my master's.
Okay.
Like, what am I doing here? And music kept being a thing. And the one thing that I will say, this actually, as I was praying one day, this came to me. It was like, God always endorses the plans that he allows. And it was evident he was endorsing this moment. It was like every door I tried to go through, excuse me, sorry, every door I tried to go through academically or athletically, anything like that, shut down. But every creative door I tried to go through, especially in music, wide open. Like, I remember one day I was like, God, and this is not what people should do. I'm not advocating for this. But randomly one day, as I was living in my insecurity, I was like, God, if you really want this to happen, I really want to do a song with Crowder. Can you make that happen? And this is years later I said this. But lo and behold, I meet him at an airport one day, and 6 weeks later, we got a song together.
Dang.
And I just was like, but then again, I was like, Lord, I really want to do this. If you want me to do this, like, let me get a song with Britt Nicole. I like Britt Nicole. And it happened. And so I'm just like, one of my greatest things in life, two truths and a lie, we play with people to get to know each other. And one of my truth is I meet anyone I want to meet. I've never not met someone.
Right.
Like, I want to meet Tavis Smiley. I ended up meeting him, hanging with him for like 6 weeks. I'm like, whoever it is I really feel a desire to be around, God allows it for some reason in his timing.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I was like, everybody's calling me a rapper. I'm meeting all the people I want to do stuff with. Okay.
Speaking of Blacklight, I think there's a moment that came from that project, which we could. To me, Dum Dum comes to mind, and I had worked on a song with you during that time. This is way before we had even got to where we are now, but I remember producing our song, which was "You Know What It Is" off the Blacklight album. Shout out that album title. But when the album came out, I remember hearing the Dum Dum song and being like, "Damn, it's way harder than our joint." So talk to us a little bit about that song. Did that song help crystallize in your brain, like, yo, this is like, I do this now? Yeah.
So did Lecrae or Ben talk about Dum Dum at all with y'all?
No, we could probably.
Nah, they didn't. They didn't.
Okay.
It's
so they may not even remember this.
maybe this is because I'm so curious to hear where this is going.
Yeah.
And so maybe for our listeners, if you want to hear where this is going, keep it locked with us. We're gonna take a quick break. Hear more Kingdom Building music. Keep it locked. We're gonna come back and talk about Dum Dum, the record that seemed to really change a lot of things.
Yes.
And then there's a lot more that we can get into. Again, my name is Marcus.
Ace Harris.
This is the 116
Life.
Life. We're in studio with Tedashii, and we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. If you're just now joining us, my name is Marcus, and I'm here with my good friend
Ace Harris.
And this is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. And we're in studio with the one, the only, the incomparable.
There it is.
I said incomparable.
T. Dash.
The academic in him is like, Ace, you gotta edit that out.
Right.
No. Unconquerable. I'm cool with that word.
Yeah.
Is that what you
no,
said?
no, that's a word. The funny thing is, I've been searching for that word in my mind, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, I kind of got a rep to protect on this show.
No,
so
I mean,
I'm not
look,
gonna
when it
say
comes to linguistics and language, if there's like a spectrum, your boys over here.
No.
Y'all can have that.
Yeah, you had that 29 ACT, so
Yeah.
it's whatever you
It's
say.
hilarious,
Because
bro.
I ain't gonna put myself
That's
out there and say my
hilarious.
score.
That's
In this new
hilarious.
age, I think I might have had me like a 23. Like I came into college on academic
Man.
probation.
Man, I was a nerd, bro. I regretted that score too.
So if you're just joining us, we've covered a lot of ground on Tedashii's amazing career, 20 years doing this thing and still breaking ground, still seeing success. And we were right at the point of talking about Blacklight, the album, and Dum Dum, the record that seemed to change everything for you. So what was the story that you have for us on
Oh, yeah.
Dum Dum?
So I'm working on Blacklight, and I want music that will translate to the stage, because I've learned now, and I don't know, I think this may still be true to an extent, and I have different ideas on why it may still be true, but regardless, I wanted music that transferred to the stage, because with Identity Crisis, I didn't do that, and only a couple songs were getting able to be performed. The rest of them were like, we listen to these, we don't perform these. So with Blacklight, I was real intentional, like I want a concert record, more concert records. And at the time, the art of making an album was super big. It's like, how are you going to piece together songs to create a holistic idea of an album? So the art of that intrigued me too. So I wanted a whole project that felt like an album from top to bottom that you could play with concert records thrown in, things that we could perform. And I found a beat. Honestly, don't know who brought it my way, whether it was Joseph Prolazny or whether it was Alex Medina at the time. I forget who it was, but somebody sent me this beat and I got it and I was like, this is phenomenal. I love this. And so I played it for Lecrae, like, yo, I'm gonna rap on this. And Lecrae was like, nah. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, that's not you. That's not what people know you for.
Oh, word. He wasn't with it.
He was like, nah, I wouldn't do it. Okay. And then I played it for Ben, and Ben said something very similar, like, this is way different than what you've done. Like, this is not like a Make War. So we don't know, man. We don't know.
Real label vibe.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you got to do that
Just getting
same.
the old label shakedown.
Yeah, that's what it was, bro.
Sheesh.
That was what it was. And so I was just like, man, okay. And I put it on the back burner. And then probably 2-3 weeks later, I went back to it again, and I was like, man, I think we should do it. So I wrote a verse, and I like dabbled with the verse idea. Then I played the verse idea I had, and Cray was like, I mean, that's not that bad. That's not bad. Okay. And I was like, man, my idea is we do it together, because one of the things I do know is it's easier for people to accept you bringing a new sound when you do that new sound with someone who they know who's known for that sound.
Right.
So I was like, maybe we can do it together. And he was like, oh yeah, bet, let's do it. I was like, okay, cool. So that night in the studio, we got together. It was me, Cray, Ben. I forget who was engineer, but we was all here together. And Lecrae was like, yeah, but if we do this, you got to rewrite your verse. And I was like, yeah, that was just a scratch, just give you a vibe.
That's classic Cray.
Classic Cray. You got to rewrite your verse. Even the last time we met, that brother was in the studio. He was like, "Oh, you killed that." I would put a space in here to space out some. I'm like, so did I kill it then?
I know which one is it, bro?
Right. But anyway, so I literally walk away, go off to the side. I remember putting my notepad on the wall and just start writing my verse. And I was like, I'm not gonna stop till I get done with it. That's how I felt. Meanwhile, I possess this talent a little more now, Lecrae is the person that can be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna write my verse in 5 minutes and I'm done. And then depending on how he records it, he really would be done. I think it takes longer for him to get the sound he's looking for with recording than it does writing.
Oh yeah.
I'm like writing, he's like a whiz, and then he'll go in and record and try to find what he wants. I'm on the opposite end. I'm like, oh, I'm all about the lyrics. It's got to say
That's definitely
something.
you, bro.
It's got to say something.
Is that the academic in you? Would you
I
say?
think so. I think so.
Just...
And a little bit of the purist. Like I still care about bars. I want lyrics in the song that will make somebody go, oh, okay, or have to think. Meanwhile, I'm like, don't nobody care about that no more. But at the time, that was still a thing. Right. So I'm trying to work out my verse a certain way. He's already done with his. Anybody that works in the studio at some point with other artists has felt the pressure of like, wait, they already done?
Ooh.
So I got to get done now? And I look up and it's been 30 minutes and the engineer's just sitting. And that's one of the
with his arms
folded. And then, he'll spark convo with somebody to pass the time, but really they're just waiting on you. Yeah. So it's like 7 people waiting on me, and I feel the pressure of like, I got to get done. And so I finish the verse, I go in, I record it. As soon as I record it, they were like, everybody in the room was like, yo, who are you, bro? This is amazing. And they loved it.
Wow.
No rewrite, no nothing. It was like that. We love it. And I think that was the moment, I know for Ben, but for Lecrae, I think that was the moment of like, oh, you're a real artist. Like you're a creative. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I embody whatever I need to be for the art. And he was like, bet, this is amazing.
Say more, I don't want to lose that.
No, go ahead.
You said, I'm an artist. I embody whatever I need to for the art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That felt pretty foundational.
That's like that statement. You could just like
so
package that.
And maybe if I flip that back around, it's like maybe what I hear you saying is an artist is someone who can embody what they need to serve the moment.
Yes, totally. The moment or the audience or the individuals. I learned years ago, really in college, the idea of musicality. That word is a real word, but we usually think of it as far as people's musical ability. Mm-hmm. Musicality speaks more so to the idea of a two-lane highway, where on one side, I'm giving you what I created, but in order for it to fully work, I also have to receive from you what you feel based on engaging it. And that comes back to me, and this cycle happens of musicality.
Oh,
that's hard.
Yo.
That's like I gotta just process that.
And that's so amazing because Ace and I, we've been having this conversation really around the Christmas project.
Yeah.
The 116, because I've been listening to that record, that album a lot.
Yeah.
Because my Christmas just passed and my son loves it. And the more and more I sat with that project, I would just pull Ace aside and I would say, oh my God, yo, like, these guys are professionals. and I didn't really have that. And I was like, Marcus, well, you've been working at Reach for like 10 years.
Yeah,
you know that. Like,
is that a look I gave you a little bit?
Kind of. But whatever. But I think you just articulated what a lot of people maybe are grasping for and maybe sometimes fall short of or don't know how to support, which is this thing that it's about that two-way relationship. It's about cultivating that back and forth and being able to serve. I think what I hear is it's a service.
It is. So that's where, and not to go on a tangent too far, but that's where the issue of oversaturation comes in. Not of one individual artist, but a plethora of sounds that you have access to at any given moment. Convenience of it is amazing, but the oversaturation of I can just go to iTunes and pull up any artist I want to hear at the moment and I got them. Everything I want to hear from them. Now I'm done with that. I'm going to switch to this next one. You lose the skill and maybe even the desire to relate in a musicality aspect with the artist. And now they become an artist of consumption or convenience.
They become a product.
Right, but not necessarily an artist. So I'm still in the
dropping
mindset
gems,
of where I'm making music for the person who's gonna sit with what I'm saying and journey with me through what I offered them.
Right.
And waiting for the response. Easily seen in concerts. People see it all the time in concerts. But in engaging the music on your own, by yourself, or with your friends, in the car, whatever, that exchange still needs to take place to an extent. Like, I don't know if I can ever give someone, like I was talking to a friend of mine and I told him my wife just started watching The Office. And they said, oh my God, I wish I was her so I could go back and watch it for the first time too and get that feeling.
Okay.
Because they love that TV show. And I was like, man, similar fashion, I wish that I could go back and give people the feeling I had when my favorite artist dropped a project and I got to go to the store to go get it because ain't nowhere else to get it. But when I do, I pop the CD in and I'm just sitting in my car soaking it all up. And I'm like, you don't get that no more. And now, granted, I know, I remember asking some friends, I was hanging with some friends and their kids were there. And I was like, do y'all just sit around and listen to music anymore? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, man, friends, we used to come together to listen to an artist album. Like, they just dropped something new, so we all get together. I don't care. Like, I love all kind of music. So I'm like, if it was rock, if it was jazz, if it was rap, if it was R&B, if it was country, I'm like in it. I'm like, what? They just dropped it. Let's all listen to it. And then we all talk about it as it go around. Like, I remember when 50's first album dropped, we sat and listened to it, and we went all around talking about it. Just engaging the music. And I was like, yo, I don't think that happens anymore. We've become oversaturated and we're more willing, we fight more to be satiated than we do to be content or pleased.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm still offering a palette driven option for you to enjoy, not just a stomach feeling option for you to enjoy.
Yeah.
So I want you to savor what I'm giving you.
And it seems that that's such a great man. You said so many foundational things in that. I'm just like kind of really thinking. And so much of that is like we see it. We see very rarely that it happens. Like I think about there's a. We still see it happens. It's very few and far in between. Yeah. And I'm curious, Tedashii. Now you encountered what it actually meant to be an artist, and you then accepted it. Yeah. And now you've had this extended career after Blacklight. You had Below Paradise, and then you had This Time Around, and then you had the Never Fold, and you had This Time Around too. And now, I mean, your songs are doing some amazing things. You had the #1 record at Christian CHR. Yep. And that the Jordan Feliz record, which the Gotta Live, which dominated. I mean, that song dominated. Yeah. Then coming into this year, you got Get Out My Way, which is going crazy. I mean, the iPhone 14 launches. Yeah. With that song, and now just the streaming, and a lot of my job when I'm not making radio programs,
when I'm not mastering the art of making radio programs,
right? CMO in the building.
And now my job is to really figure out how to continue to work that record. Yeah. What is that like? What is it like now on this side of things as you're seeing your music continue to do new things?
Well, I think my answer will be different depending on who you ask. Like, I'm going to have a different answer than Trip or Craig or somebody like that. But as I think about it, I think of two different things. On one hand, I'm still hungry. Like, I feel honestly like I'm having to fight for getting signed again. That's how I feel.
Okay.
And I know I'm signed. I know I'm a part of a label, all that stuff. But that's the hunger in me. That's the depth of it. I'm like, I got to go out here and show and prove. I really want to do that because I really feel like I have something to say. Everybody want to say something. I mean, that's what the culture we live in now. You can always tweet or do a reel or
buy some microphones and some cameras,
buy some microphones and cameras, do stuff out. And everybody now, they do their thing. So it's not like we have a shortage of people wanting to say stuff, but I feel burdened like there's more for me I was created to say.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I talked to a friend recently. Every time you ask somebody what's their purpose, like I'll be like, oh, Ace, what's your purpose in life, man? What do you think your purpose is? It feels like a very daunting question, like a heavy, I don't really know what to say type question that leaves you giving this ambiguous kind of on the fly, I think this is what I should say answer. I've learned from study, from just patience and living, I've learned all around purpose for me is to live out the intent with which I have been created. Everything, this microphone was created with an intent.
Yeah.
And to use it opposite or outside of its intent doesn't mean that can't happen.
Yeah.
It could totally be a something to put up for decor, or it could totally be something that I use as a paperweight, you know, whatever. Right. But if you use it for its intent, it does something phenomenal.
So in some way, could you kind of like bring that down for us a bit? Tell us about a recent moment where you were doing something, or you had something to say and you said it through music or whatever, where you felt like this is what I was made to do, and I did it.
So I have come to the realization that I was created to be a creative communicator. Okay. That's who I am. I didn't give myself the voice I have. I didn't give myself the way in which my personality shows up in my choosing of words and speech. It's who God made me to be, and I have chosen to lean into it. And so knowing that, I decided to use my voice, use my actions, use my gifting, my creativity toward an intended end. Most of all, like you said, serving others, enlightening others. I'm a huge fan of awareness, like the nonprofit for my son Chase called the Chase Foundation. One big tenet of that is awareness, or exposure. But recently, I did a post on social media like a couple days ago, and it basically says something to the extent of like, we as saints have to stop shaming sisters who have babies out of wedlock. She's already carrying a baby. She doesn't need to carry your judgment too. Because I had 2 conversations with 2 different women who are about to deliver a baby without a husband, and they're so caught up in the shame they feel from other people, they're not able to celebrate this baby.
Yeah.
And now all of us have had kids come into the world. Oof. In marriage or out of marriage, this is still a life worth celebrating.
Oh,
Even
man.
the Bible says this is a gift. Now, granted, for some people, this may be, choppy water. But the reason I bring it all up is because I know I have the voice, the language, and the passion to say something that would bring dignity to an individual who would otherwise feel shame from someone that engaged the community I identify with. As a Christian, as a male, as a leader, it's like, okay, you feel from those 3 categories alone, they feel judgment and shame and ridicule. And they honestly, from those feelings, they feel less than, like God loves them less. Right. And I was like, okay, we're going too far now. To communicate God loves you less is sin never communicates sin was never meant to be correlated to God's depth of love for you. Sure. It was always, the depth of love is why the sin is a serious issue, not the lack of love. Sure, wow. So it's just like, we have caused this problem. We've caused this problem and a divide in how we think. So I'm like, well, if I've been created to communicate, then I need to pick the things I need to be talking about and go for them. So that was one of them.
Wow.
Recently.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm over here like, I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't expect, like, you've been spitting this morning. It's kind of hard.
He's a creative communicator.
You're a creative communicator. You're doing what you full circle moment. So before, man, I just feel like it's so hard to put you into the time that we have for this segment.
No, I get it. Do it though.
And
do it.
I really wanted to give you the opportunity. You mentioned it, but before we go, why don't you tell folks about the Chase Foundation and what you're trying to accomplish there?
So my son Chase, for those that don't know, passed away. It was 10 years now. It'll be 10 years this year.
Wow.
And for me, it feels like yesterday. For one of my friends in the city who just buried his 23-year-old daughter, it was yesterday. And it's like, man, that never goes away. I want to walk with people who go through that. Mm-hmm. I want to honor Chase's life and do something of substance and value because I believe, because I believe if he was still here, he would. So I'm like, I'm going to do that on his behalf and honor his life. But even further than that, I feel burdened to walk alongside the people who have to be a part of this new community that no one wants to be a part of and take this new normal journey that no one wanted. And I'm like, all right, well, if I can help you in some way, come alongside you in some way, I will. So we started the Chase Foundation. The mission of the foundation is to be a present help for future hope. That's the entire goal. If I can be a present help in the moment, perhaps you will believe there's a future hope for you.
And how are y'all doing that? How are y'all being a present
Some of the
help?
main things that right now we're in the programming phase. Nothing has been implemented yet because I'm not only am I still waiting on 501c3 status from the IRS, even though I know we can still do the work. It's also a matter of creating the programming that will make sense. So one of the first programs that I want to do is creating a retreat opportunity. I want to find a better word than retreat.
Yeah.
That gives a different connotation than what I mean. But I want to give people an escape for a moment to be with the community of people who are in a similar journey as you, so that we can encourage, edify, expose, and then give opportunity for enrichment. Like those things are big on my heart. And if we can do that, maybe you can feel less alone and move forward. Yeah. And then the second program that we're working on is to create a scholarship fund for siblings of loss, because I recognize the parents are going through a difficult enough journey to then feel the stress to say, oh, but I also got to take care of you, is something that's real, and that's their kid, we get it. But if they could get a little help to say, here's motivation for your child to go to college. Here's motivation for you to have less stress about this moment, then I want to help provide that. Yeah. But not just college. It is college scholarship, but what's bigger on my heart is to push kids toward trade schools.
Yeah, okay.
I want to see business owners come from our community, not just kids who are smart. It's a lot of people smart in the world ain't got no money, but you need money to live. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, if I could push you to a trade school.
Cultivate skills, man.
Yeah. Cultivate the skills. And now if you want to go to college to have that experience or get a higher education in that regard, you can do it because you own your own business now. You're a licensed plumber, electrician. Yeah. You're a licensed nail tech. You're a licensed, whatever. And you can go and pay your own way through. Man. So those are some of the programs we're trying to work on. But the whole idea, again, is exposure and enrichment, and giving people opportunity to feel elevated and seen.
And how can people follow along that journey?
They can go to chasefoundation.net and learn more about it, fill out the form for interest for more, and then if they want to donate, there's a button on there as well for donating. And we are taking donations now, but I always want to make it known we're in the programming phase. Yeah. So if people donate, they don't turn around and go, what you doing? It's been this long. And I'm like, I want to make it clear things are getting ready to happen. Like awesome. In March of this year, I'm working with a team now to put together a fundraiser and an event to launch everything. And so I left a meeting yesterday talking with somebody to help make this a reality. So by the end of 2023, we can start doing more of the work.
Love that. Love that. You guys go and support the Chase Foundation. What's the website?
chasefoundation.net.
chasefoundation.net. Tedashii, it's been so great to talk to you this morning.
Yeah, man. It's been refreshing, man.
Yeah. Know you almost 10 years now and am finding out new things. And for those of you who are getting to know us through this program, we appreciate your listenership. Once again, my name is Marcus.
Ace Harris.
This is the 116 Life on Holy Coach Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. We'll see y'all next week.